Welcome to the Electric Theatre.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We had a big storm. I'm talking to you from Des Moines, Iowa, and I'm in a northern suburb right next to the lake of our city, and we had a really big storm, almost tornadoes, and I was just driving around, and all these beautiful old oak trees are down, and just kind of crazy.
My.
But there's a beauty
crazy
in it as well. There's a beauty in a sort of the world cleansing. It's like a haircut, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
there's sort of
I
a
think
beauty in it as well.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that. I mean, I'm here in Maui, but I've noticed it especially in areas of the island where, I mean, yours is much more of like the natural destruction, but we have areas that are usually like filled with tourists, and the way that like the fish and the water is just crystal clear, like places that are usually filled to the brim with people at any given time are so like thriving. Mother Earth is like taking back. It's pretty exciting.
I've heard this. I was speaking to one of my friends on, doing this with them, and they were informing me. And this is sort of like what I like to touch on if I touch on the pandemic, because there's just so much that is crucial with it. I don't feel like really touching it too much because I don't want it to get misunderstood through me. So but what I'd love to touch on is what you just said, and what he told me was that at that time, and this was over a month ago, he said recently in India they set free 100 elephants back into their natural habitat because there were no tourists there. And that's my wife's favorite animal, and so I couldn't help but stop for a moment, think of 100, to see if I could visualize 100 elephants walking into, probably running into their world, and then kind of think of my wife, how happy that would make her. And I just thought, wow, what a beautiful thing. And then I've also heard a lot of reefs and a lot of areas that normally get congested are really getting cleansed and back a little bit, and that is a wonderful thing.
It's just super nice because we haven't had this type of break from reality in terms of like pollution and things in like our lifetime, to where it's so noticeable. And it's cool because there's going to be so many people who are naysayers about climate, naysayers about things, humans having such a broad effect. And it's like, well, now you can see it, and it's only over like 4 or 5 months. Like, I think it's pretty epic.
Well, there's nothing better than proof and fact.
Yeah.
And like you said, they can see it. You can, it's real easy. You don't even need to use the most powerful means of communication, which is your voice. You could just hold up 2 pictures. One says before and one says after. And there's no, you can't talk to me back about it. You just look at the before 4 months later and do the math, and but there'll still be people that want to destroy. It's in our nature, unfortunately, but I guess it's the alternate. I always tell people 50% of the world loves me and 50% of the world hates me. So I just try to spend 100% of my time in 24 hours around the 50% that can tolerate me, and it makes the day more positive. So.
It's so epic. I like that. I like the way you said that. Yeah.
Right.
I
It's a lot of numbers and everything, and it just winds up 50-50. But, well, hey, I wanted to thank you. Welcome to the Electric Theater, and I really appreciate you taking time in your day, especially in these times. I just want to say briefly.
It's epic.
Well, thank you. And it's really just about 2 people that don't know each other getting together and having whatever conversation they really want. And that's kind of like my angle. And my angle is because I've been doing a lot of interviews for 20, 25 years or whatever it's been. And, you know, it seems like no one's ever really asked me the questions that I wanted. You know, there were plenty of years that I answered the questions that I thought were important, that were going to get me and levitate me to somewhere I believed I needed to be because of everybody whispering. But in the end of the day,
completely.
20 years in, when someone says, well, what are the masks for? You know, and I say to myself, you know, number one, interview's over. I don't care to talk about this. But then I learned that I was like, it's not this person's fault. You know, we have a new album.
Yeah.
We have a new generation of kids. We have new people. There are new kids that are listening to the band that actually don't know what the masks are for, because that would have been talked about in '98. So I understand the importance. I understand the importance, but I don't understand why it's not important to ask me if my parents are alive or deceased. I think that's important to understand who I am as a performer, and I don't get that. I don't get, you know, maybe people don't think they can get personal, but I only see them mainly going for the corporate angle to get the recognition of interviewing and getting the basis of what makes the money, which is the new album and the new look and this and that. And if you can get the answers to all that, then people are going to read your thing. And I, as the performer, like, man, I would so much love to talk about my grandma with someone just once and tell the world how beautiful, epic. You know, how beautiful she was and how important she was to my life and art. So, I mean, do you feel that way? Do you feel like with what you do? Yeah. You know, tell me a little bit about what are your frustrations?
I completely agree with you. I think I'm the type of person who I would describe myself as an oversharer. That's always been, like, I'm always, since I was a kid, been really comfortable sharing things and talking about things, talking about my family or my friends or my pets or like any excuse to kind of like create a connection with somebody. And I think oftentimes, like when I was younger, you come off like really goofy and all this stuff, but I love hearing about where people come from. And yeah, I mean, it's the same, I think, in skateboarding right now, because that's kind of that industry that I come from. There's a lot of different characters, and there's a lot of emphasis on this kind of communication, like podcasts and like kind of blogs or that kind of interview setup. So it's cool because you definitely get to see this real, like, behind the scenes of people's lives and see where they come from, because, yeah, like you, I think that dictates everything about, like, a person, instead of, you know, what just the 95% of the general public see. So yeah, so you're from Iowa. I have yet to go to Iowa, but I have a really good friend from that area. But
what area in Iowa?
He's from that greater area. Is it Des Moines? He's
Yep. That's the capital of Iowa, and that's where I live currently. Cool. Is he just a friend, family, relative, skateboarder?
Skateboard photographer. And he's actually one of the first openly gay people in the skateboard world. His name's Sam McGuire. He's a really good friend of mine, and he is a super talented photographer and has just been all around the world with some of the best dudes shooting, and he really does a cool job of going to places that haven't really been skated. Like, he takes groups of skaters all over. I went to Portugal and northern Spain with him, and we skated like these old churches, and he just has this like real knack for going to places that are kind of untouched and unexplored in terms of like the skate world, and sharing them in a way that's like, you don't even have to be a skater to like appreciate and enjoy the way he shares that stuff. So yeah, he's awesome. He's just one of the best dudes.
I haven't heard of him, but I'll have to locate him and check him out here. My daughter shoots a lot. She might. How old is he? Do you know?
He would be in his mid-30s, and he was based out of New York City for a bit, and now he's in LA. So I know he gets back to see family, but I don't know when the last time he was, Iowa-based was.
Okay. Well, cool. Yeah, we have it's pretty, I think when I was younger, it was a pretty hard place to grow up, but now that I'm older, maybe it's cliche. I really appreciate, I sort of appreciate the dialogue that my city spoke to me in order to facilitate, I guess, who I am. And I guess, it's weird to think about. We all watch other people grow up in other places, and sometimes, I don't know if you've done this, I'm sure you have, but sometimes we get caught up like, wouldn't it be nice to be them? Not necessarily because of money or this person or that person, but, you look into someone's life, and you're like, how interesting would it be and, crazy if, like, I grew up that way, and, like, that could have been my life. And I think we all do that, right?
Oh, God.
And,
I did it I did it a lot when I was younger because, would you describe growing up kind of like, did you ever feel like you were kind of like trapped in a small town, or like, did you ever like want to be anywhere else? Because growing up for me, I grew up southeastern Massachusetts, and there was not obviously the culture I wanted to be around, which was like skateboarding. I was really into surfing. I wanted to be in California or Hawaii, or like you have this envy of people and of places. But yeah, I used to totally relate to that.
It's a strange thing because you can almost put yourself there. You can almost be them, and it can become emotional. When I would do it. My problem is I'm an only child, so I kind of live in my head. So it's like, I'm so naive. I wouldn't have paid attention enough growing up to what LA was on the TV or someone talking, or to see it in a book and go, wow, I could go there. I was too naive. I have to experience, and then when I experience, I indulge and like perfect as much as I can because of the love for it, you know what I mean? But it takes me a minute, but I can remember looking in a lot and being sort of emotional. Maybe some of it was mainly family, brothers and sisters, and just being emotional, like, wow, I could have grown up with an older brother and kicked my ass and helped me. Or I went to a private school, and I had to protect my own self. And it was quite intimidating all the time as a male to like football and stuff, wrestling, and just private school. Everybody knows everybody, so everybody threatens everybody. And, I had no older brothers or sisters to kind of lay down the family name prior, but that's okay. That's all right. That's who I am.
Totally.
I wanted to touch on something that I thought was interesting. So
please.
When I knew that I was going to interview you, I have a lot of organization in my life that helps me motivate through whatever it is I'm trying to do, which most of the time I have no idea. So I have a lot of organization, and when this was scheduled and everything, there was an emphasis. So there's your name, maybe on a piece of paper or a text or an email with a schedule of all things I do, whatever. And there you are, time, this sort of thing. But there was an emphasis on the word female a lot. And no one was doing it. No one was doing it because they felt they had to do it. It's just blatant, I think. So what I found interesting is there's your name, okay? And then it's female skateboarder. But see, you could have your name and take out the female and just put skateboarder.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of emphasis on that female word in my life. And see, I'm this sort of human that I can't acknowledge those things. I don't see them. I guess I'm sort of ignorant because female, male, like it's all the same to me. It's humans. It's empowerment of whatever. So where I went was, I guess I went to the blatant. I wanted to know, like, what inspired you to skate? And I was telling a friend that, maybe you had an older brother and you had to keep up and you just kept your balance, and somebody said, oh my God, you're really good at that, and the reward button hit and you stuck on it. Or you have a really aggressive side, which everybody does, and that's why I'm saying the emphasis on the female part throws me off, because I would be more interested in what it is in you that maybe the system doesn't teach as much that made you gravitate to that sport, which can be anybody's sport. And I hope I'm making sense to
Totally.
you.
Yeah.
But,
completely.
What do you feel about
I think about this stuff all the time.
Tell me, please.
I think about this stuff all the time. I mean, so I grew up to two parents who were, I always say I'm very lucky. I'm the oldest of two kids. So I have my brother Davis. He's 4 years younger, and he was, we were each other's, playmates growing up. We always had each other to play with and fight with and wrestle with. And then now he's 23, going to be 24 at the end of the month. I'm 27. So we're really at that age where we've become like best friends. And he lives with me in California when I'm there. And so I've always had that as someone to like play back and forth with. But my parents they were very athletic. My mom's really fearless. She grew up middle of 9 kids. Always wanted to play with the boys and do that thing. And the first time my parents met, my mom they were 8 years old. It was probably late 60s, New Bedford, Massachusetts. And my mom was playing as a boy on a little league team.
Wow.
She was literally essentially playing with the boys until a practice or two in or 2 games in or something, they realized she's a girl. And this is before Title IX, so there's no girls' team. She's not allowed to play with the boys. So she's kicked out. She's kicked off the
wow.
game. She can't play baseball or, Little League. So that's the kind of woman I come from, And then growing up, and my dad's an artist, illustrator, art teacher. So both my parents were the type of people who it was, whatever you want to do, you can do it. There are absolutely they were equal people in my house. There was no real significant issues on terms of gender roles. I didn't see a mom who was submissive. I didn't see a dad who was overpowering and misogynistic or anything. So I definitely had the door was wide open in a lot of ways. I think I could have ended up doing a lot of different things, but when I found skateboarding, it was through a cartoon, which is this cartoon called Rocket Power. It's like this Nickelodeon cartoon, early 90s, about kids growing up somewhere in California doing all the action sports. They would skate, surf, mountain bike, rollerblade, everything, all that stuff. And I was just so drawn to it. We had bike trails in the yard, and we had all the toys. But as I got a little bit older, I was skating a little bit in middle school, and that was really when I kind of started getting that passion for it. I was also really into surfing at the time, but we lived on the coast, but it was not consistent in terms of waves. This is 30 miles south of Boston. And it's obviously cold, and there's tons of things that make it not the best place to surf. But by high school, I was just all I wanted to do was skateboard. And I think it's kind of, for me, definitely more of an artistic drive than a drive to be aggressive or win or it's much more of it's like when you have that little like gremlin or that demon in your head, like you have to put this out there. You have to do that trick and put it out there. You have to, and it can be the most simple of things. But I think artists are driven in that sense of like, you can visualize something in your head. You can create something in your head. Or for me, it was, I know I can do this. I know I could do an air. I can do a kickflip, or I can do all these things. And until I do it and like actualize it, I'm not fulfilled. And it was just really the first thing that did that for me. That was like that like first little feel of passion as like a young teenager or whatever. And I think you could probably relate to that a lot with music. That's probably kind of like, would you say you had a similar experience?
Yeah, I mean, my parents were the same way. We had alcoholism in the family, so that hindered things, but it also shaped me. In ways that maybe I'm not proud of, or in ways that maybe people shouldn't be empowered, but it was still my life, and there's just still much love and no regret and nothing like that. But, just being honest, but my mom, she was very sort of hippie-ish, without maybe being a part of the culture, but just the mentality. And again, no prejudice, the door is open. My dad was always like, if you're going to do anything, do it with sizzle. So I always took that. Yeah, I always took it literal. I just light shit on fire and I'll make it. So you think about me as an early musician, coming into the scene, we are straight up just sizzle. It's just overdone. Masks, drums, just overload of sizzle. But that's how I grew up. A lot, just like your parents. No, doors are open, up to you, very supportive, and pushing that way. And very lucky and blessed to have had that. That's been a lot of my concern. My wife and I, our family, we lost a child, and in this sort of storm, not to be, be a cloud or anything, but in this storm, where I've gone as a father in this path I'm on that you never want to be on in a million years, I'm really in touch with reward. And just how important it is as a father or a mother to give children the reward and the recognition and the advice and the ability to make a child understand responsibility behind its choices. And what what we were both just talking about is that we got a lot of reward. It's for people that don't understand, it's when a child takes its first step and the parents are like, oh, you're doing it, and the hug, you learn how to walk real fast. You learn how to walk real fast. Oh, yeah. Because you want to eat that reward up. But what it does for me is, I have some regret, and you can't help but to have that thinking of the past and thinking of the future. But what it really brings me to is my sort of what you were talking about earlier that I wanted to touch too. You said that you have an overability of sharing, and that's probably a major gift of a sub-menu of empathy, and my empathy in this world is really driving me nuts because I'm really in touch with this idea of reward and just how many people in the world have grown up without reward, or how many people are growing up right now without that reward. Because if you were a child and didn't get it and you had a bad upbringing, the chances are someone's not helping you reverse that for the generation you bring up. So that's off subject or whatever, but what we were talking about and how we got into what we're getting, you asked me if it was similar, and I'm saying, I had a very supportive family. My dad didn't understand why I wanted rock and roll, but he always bought me drumsticks and said, get a job while you're jamming, and here's some sticks because you can't afford them. And that was the push. So that was the reward. That was the reward. I was a good kid, and here's some sticks. We believe in you. But it's sad to think that a lot of this world doesn't have that right, that consideration at that moment, and how much it affects all of us, you know?
Yeah, no, completely. And it's crazy because it can be the smallest action, and there's so many kids who don't ever get the smallest action, you know? And that's really hard, because so much of that, people in their lives end up trying to find it in other ways, and it becomes kind of like this black hole for them. But I think another thing, you know, touching back on oversharing, is I think it was always a way to really express to people that I was, you know, open to them, and I was empathic towards them. And it's like I want to come off in this way where it's like, you don't have to like be threatened or feel weird, or you can tell me anything kind of attitude.
Yeah, I like that. Trust.
Yeah, trust. It's like, because I'm definitely outgoing. My family are very outgoing. My brother's outgoing and stuff. And I think that I get uncomfortable. I can get uncomfortable around people who are shy or who are more introverted, because I feel like I'm making them uncomfortable. And that is like such a big, like, I don't ever want that, you know? So yeah, you develop kind of tactics to try to ease them, but it's hard. Being extroverted is definitely an interesting balance.
Yeah, I'm pretty private, pretty in my head, and it's hard for me to be, community is hard for me, but I work really hard to just accept it and do it, and I get so much reward, you know.
Yeah,
I get so much reward,
awesome.
but it's hard for me. It's too much sharing for me would be overwhelming, because I would feel like I would be expected to share, and I don't know if I have the behavior tactics to be able to share, especially like only children. For me, I don't have a problem expressing anything, but when people are loud and make it public, and it's right here amongst people we all know, and they're like, "You got a new haircut," like, I'm right out the door. I'm just, because everyone's like, "Oh, you got a new haircut, it looks great." I'm just not used to all of that right now.
Well, it's like reading a room.
Yeah.
Like, you got to read the room.
No one reads my room. It's just full on. I'm the elephant in the room at all times. I'm an accident waiting to happen. I mess things up. Things happen. So it's weird. But you're right. You got to read a room. You know who the peeps are in this world, especially the more we look in, you know. So
yeah, completely.
I was again, I'm really naive, and I don't sit there and try to find my facts, but I thought it was also funny that no one told me that on my schedule, no one said anything about you guys. I interviewed Albie yesterday. I had a great conversation with him, and it was a good time, and just his energy, like, he had like this chuckle the whole time under the communication, and it was just so refreshing. It was fun. Yeah, it was fun. There was not like a drama angle thing anywhere. Not that there would be. I'm just saying I can end up being around people in the industry that can be uptight and stuff. But anyway, no one bothered to tell me you guys were, together. I mean, he said yesterday, he's like, "I got a girlfriend now." I'm like, "What's her name?" Right off the bat, "What's her name?" "Nora." I'm like, cool, and then again, I'm going through my schedule, and then there was an emphasis, hey, this is Albie's girlfriend, But, so the only thing I did.
Sick. I love that.
The only thing I did was I just wanted to see if I could find a picture of the two of you together. That's all I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I didn't want to go into your life and his life, and it's just not what this is about. It's more about making friends, and hopefully after this we'll bump into each other somewhere, and we'll be able to pick up a nice, friendly conversation because there's a trust there already of just a normal conversation between two people already. But I found this picture, couldn't tell you where it was. I could show it to you, but you were wearing Adidas. I know that. You had a top, but you guys were together, and you guys looked absolutely perfect. I mean, it was like I wouldn't know, and I'm not trying to, whatever. I'm just saying it was a great picture. The exchange of the intimacy you guys share was there. It was like a really, just really great picture. So that's, what's that like? You're a skateboarder. He's a professional surfer. I believe you guys are in Maui right now, and sometimes you go to Northern California to spend. So what's it like? You said you're 27. He told me he's going to be 30 in a couple months. So, how long you guys been dating? What did he lie about? Give it to me. What did he lie about?
He just turned 29.
Okay, well, maybe that's what he said. Well, don't put it on. Well, yeah, he's like, I'm going to be 30.
No, he's been saying this. He's been saying this since last year. He's like, I'm 30. I forget where we were. He told somebody he was 30. I'm like, babe, you're 29. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, enjoy it. Hey, the good news is, here's the good news. 30 to 40 is a blink of the eye. I'm not going to lie. Because you're busy, weird things happen. But I will tell you, 40 to 50 is like 100 years. I swear to God.
Oh, sick.
I just turned 50 last September. I'm turning 51 in September.
Epic.
And I'm letting you know, 40 to 50, I mean, I turned 45. I'm like, what is up? Am I 50 already? 47 rolls around. Geez. Yeah, did I get 10 years on this life? But 30 to 40 is a haul, so that's probably why he's like, oh, God, this new guy came in the racket. He's 23. I'm 30 now.
Yeah, it's definitely I think it comes with that, it's like that athlete mentality. I describe we're definitely athletes. That's what we do. We use our bodies primarily to do what we love. But I think it's just existing in that industry that's telling you you're constantly being told and reminded of your age and where you stand, and basically of your expiration date. Is kind of a good way to put it. And it's hard because he's had a much different experience where his career was started much younger. He was born and raised in Maui and was kind of, essentially you could call him a child prodigy, just a super, from a young age, from the moment he stood on a surfboard, was really good and kept progressing and just really created this whole, really helped obviously changed the way surfing is now, but he did it in so many ways. He's a big wave pioneer, especially with paddling into the waves. He's a pioneer in terms of the tricks that they're doing, all the airs. He's got he's done airs no one else has been ever able to do. So I think he's been doing it longer, and he's also had really serious injuries. You guys probably touched on his double hip surgery and
we didn't.
concussions. Oh, wow. Okay. So last April and March of last year, he had a double hip surgery. So they basically had to shave down his hip bones and re-anchor his labrums. And, at 28 years old, that's a heavy surgery.
Hell yeah.
Super heavy. And so he's had concussions. He had a really bad one this past December. And that was the first time I got to see him surf Jaws, like these big waves. And so it was terrifying because I know how dangerous it is, but to like literally the first time seeing him surf this wave, he takes the worst slam, like the worst wipeout of his life. It was just really, eye-opening. And yeah, so his life and the way he's surfed and the time he's put in is much different than me because I didn't start skating until middle school, and then I didn't grow up somewhere where I could just go and roll around on the street. I was kind of in the country, or we didn't have like sidewalks, even to roll around. So I didn't, start getting sponsored and things like that and really start making any mark in skateboarding until I was in my 20s. So I'm much more on that. I started skating full time like just a couple of years ago. So we definitely have a very different experience in that department of like how much time and what our careers have been like. But it's also very refreshing because I have a lot to learn from him, and like kind of vice versa. It's really cool, and it's really like unique, our relationship,
Well, it seems like it. You guys, it's just one of those, things that look meant to be, and it's so cool. Like,
yeah.
What do they say? Opposites attract, and
yes.
What is more opposite than skateboarding and surfing?
Yeah.
What's more opposite? I mean, they are direct opposites. Like, okay, this is a surfboard. Oh, this is a skateboard. This is for water. This is for land. They're completely opposite, but they're sort of completely the same. They're one, sort of. So that's probably what you think is so. I mean, you guys have something special. There's like this inner thread that just happens to show its face on this interest of yours. So it's pretty cool. You guys.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, it's just a lot of fun, and we were friends. We were like good friends before we started dating, and I think, in the past, I've noticed that that's just really the groundwork for like something really special is when you have the friendship, but you kind of create this mutual respect with somebody over time that I think it's really hard to recreate when you hit it off right away with somebody. But because of what we do, and I've always been such a fan of surfing. Like I had a photo of him on my wall when I was in high school.
Wow.
Like I just had a surf collage, just like, because I was obsessed, and I had like all these surfers on there, but it was like one of his first abs, and he was just doing some sick air, which was like, to me, aerial surfing was the coolest shit. It still is. So that's like his whole deal. And I had the photo on my wall, and then we met, in 2018, and it's just crazy. It's just the universe is trippy sometimes. Like, cool.
This is true. It is weird how the movie plays out. You'll have to tell him. I pretty much started the band when I was 26. Paul and I, right around the time I was 26. I'm a couple of years older than Paul Gray, who passed away, but he and I started the band. I was 26, 29 when the band officially had a record deal, and I remember being on the East Coast. I remember being somewhere on the East Coast, and it was my 30th birthday, and I was on stage, and we had this band that we were playing with that was opening, this band called Amen, friends of ours. And I remember looking up during a song, and there was a bunch of guys in masks and coveralls, and they tackled me on my birthday. So you just have to let them know. That was the first album when I was 30 years old. I was out on the road for 18 months supporting our very first album in 1999, 30 years old. That's when my career started, was 30 years old.
Yeah.
And every broken bone and head concussion and stitches and just about every whacked out thing has happened from 30 to 50.
That's the fucking best. I love it.
But yeah, I wouldn't change a thing. And I'm like you, you know, someone's like, you know, you. It's like, I know I can do this. I know at any age, you know, I can do it. I've been thinking about picking up boxing because my dad and I used to love boxing when I was younger, and I would go to all the Tyson fights that were pay-per-view here in town. And and I had Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvelous Hagler, all these great boxers, and I grew up with it, and I always wanted to box, and I think my dad wanted me to box. But I'm thinking about picking it up, not to actually get in a ring. That's not what it's about for me. It's more about the form and the breathing and using the core and the idea, you know. But I don't really need to go in and, like, try to disprove myself or prove myself. That's not what's in my head, really. But, you know, a lot of people are like, why would you do that? It's like, because I can. What difference does it make what age I am? Do I just look weird that I'm trying because I'm older or whatever? I don't know. So.
No, I think it's so cool, and I think you get these, like, little drives to learn things and to figure out something new, and that's life. That's, like, the beauty of life and the beauty of, like, that artistic mind that we probably, you know, both have, which is, like, you get driven in these little ways and you get motivated, and I just feel so lucky when I want to take something up that's new, because I know so many people who suffer from kind of being stagnant and not having the drive to do anything. And whether that's just depression, whether that's just some people's personalities, you know, they don't get super excited about things. I always feel like so fortunate that I get enthusiastic about trying to learn stuff, and it just keeps things exciting. And then I think it helps everything else that you do, for sure.
Well, I used to rock this saying. It's like, you know, it's like you should try everything, because then everything is what you have, and not everything is going to work out.
Yeah.
You know, not everything is going to work out in this world. But if you try everything, then when you pass, everything is what you'll have. Now, some things, you know, I just don't want anything to do with that. But see, you're confident. You have that in you. You're like, that doesn't interest me. It's not fear. It's not nothing. I'm just not interested.
Exactly.
That's okay. But if there is a little fear and there's a little denial of, like, just what is this, it might be worth trying, only because on the dying day, man, you have more days of learning, communicating, trying, listening. You know, what I've been doing this whole last 4 months is just being manual. That's all I just get out and I sweat and I get dirty. I move logs. I work on cars. I work on dirt bikes, or, you know, get on top of my roof, clean gutters, whatever it is. I just trying to be manual. Because I could easily find myself with a big glass of Kool-Aid sitting in front of my computer playing one of the 20 games I love to play. And I do love them.
But that doesn't...
I do love them.
Yeah.
But that potential isn't going to help me right now. My mind is so scattered.
Totally.
I have a lot of friends that live check by check. There's a lot of humans that this is really, really a hard time, and it's hard for me to see it, because I feel so. I don't feel like I'm doing anything. I'm doing what I'm told, but I don't feel like I'm used to getting on stage and helping people make it through the next month of their life until another artist comes through and helps them get through the week. That's what I'm used to helping with. And right now, you know, it's about all of us, you know, so the way we can help is to make sure that we stop this thing one way or another. And, you know, it's a strange time. You know, I guess I'll get off on a tangent. But,
No, I completely agree. It's like,
you know, you throw
I love
on it. Go ahead.
No, I love what you're saying about, like, being manual and doing stuff every day. That was one of the biggest reasons, because Albie and I, I grew up south of Boston, and then when I was about 20, moved to California because I graduated high school, worked basically this horrible job for a year inside of this like large-scale advertising production place. A year of my life went by. I was like, I'm not doing anything that I want to do. Moved to California. I was in California for about 7 and 8 years, and that's still where Albie and I reside, like half the year. It's a great mix in between here and Maui. But then, when COVID happened, our biggest, like for us, I like kind of thinking about when did it really hit you, the seriousness of COVID? Because for us, it was like the NBA shut down. That was like, because I felt like politicians, nobody was making as big of a deal as it really was. And then it was like sports are shut down. Like this thing that people pour money and things into all year, this huge thing that I've never seen really change is shutting down completely. And that's when we were like, we got to go back to Maui because let's just keep less bodies out of California, but also the way we are able to live here, and to have that thing where you wake up and do things manually. Albie, we go dive and fish, surf. I'm able to skate a bit, hike, build things, do artwork. It's just like we kind of knew right away we had to get somewhere where we had access to doing things that were going to keep us like mentally and physically healthy. And also, it was wild. Like when did you feel the seriousness of the pandemic? When was like that first kind of time you were like, yo, this is happening?
What freaked me out, and this will be a much different experience. I think you'll be able to understand it in explanation, but it might be a little weird. But for me, we were on tour, and I played Italy. We played Italy, and let's just call it 20,000 people, 15 to 20,000 people. So we're on stage, regular place. There's 15,000 people plus. There's a mosh pit. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of males with their shirts off, slamming next to each other, sweat everywhere, hair soaking wet, blood, spit, just rock and fucking roll, right? So I would have to do the math. I don't know the exact days, but I know that I flew into LA to get a little vacation. After the tour, we started hearing some things. We came home. Italy shut down, closed its borders, and I was like, oh my God, we were just there. So it hit me immediately because I go so many places where I have so many friends and know the culture. So Italy, it's not like home, but it is another familiar place for me. I enjoy it completely. When I go and can go to Italy and go, here's some people I know. This is the food I like at this restaurant. I love this hotel. It's close to the churches and the museums and what have you. But for me, that's how it hit, because instantly I was like, if they're closing down Italy, and then I thought about all the people that were sweaty, and it all just hit. I'm like, it's done. And we canceled 3 tours, and when we canceled 3 tours, I'm like, they can't have people next to each other. So I got it really early. Yes, when the NBA hit, I was like, it is absolute big time, billions of dollars, like freaked out now. Like it's like when the big boys are out, it is fucking coming for everyone, right? Because they're all going to hold out. They're all going to hold out and fight for the dollar. And the virus doesn't have it in its definition. It does not. Look it up. No. It doesn't have anything about the dollar in it. So it's going to plow through that theory that we made up in this planet. So I got it pretty early only because of association of playing there and then hearing it's closed. And I was like, you just don't close a country down. Like, you just don't do that. No, and especially if you have, like, any familiarity with the country and any ties to it. I had my uncles were in Portugal, and they made it out just in time as well before things were shutting down. But, it's such a
it's been so interesting seeing how people react to it, because I think it just really, you just start learning what people, I'm learning what friends and what other people are, what's valuable to them. Like, you really learn what people value really quickly. And I mean, I'm fortunate where I'm like, I've surrounded myself with a lot of great people and talking to family and friends, and everybody's really on that same page where it's like, we need to get there. We need to get healthy. We need to protect each other. It's a really wild time. That's for sure.
I actually have, then it got pretty real too when I kept telling my wife, I'm like, one could ask themselves if it's even real until it hits home in one aspect.
Yeah.
So I would say, sooner or later we're going to know somebody that has it, or somebody who's had somebody die. And when that happens, maybe the behavior that can't be changed can slightly be altered enough with hard work to make the jump to what is really needed in this time. I'm 50 years old. I've never been told to stay home. So I'm going to take that serious. I've never had that in my entire life. I've never had that. So what, are they just making it up? I don't think so. Do I know everything? Does everybody know everything? No, but I'm going to take the first % of precaution. It is a strange, it's a definitely, I don't know. It's hard. And I know three people who have it close. They're close to me. I haven't been around them. I just know they have it. All of them have, I guess, recovered, if there is such a thing, I guess. I know it can come back, I hear, maybe, or something, but they've all been through it, hit it, broke it, moving on completely, normal, if there is such a thing, I guess. And I have one friend whose grandparent had passed away from it in a nursing home. And so it's sort of real, but it's still not at my door. I don't want it to be or whatever, but it is a very strange time in this world to have to acknowledge yourself, the behavior you're going to choose to have, because everyone is going to have to be responsible for what they choose. And if you can't break the mindset, you're going to be responsible in a negative way with possibly your life, possibly somebody else's life. It's scary.
Yeah, no, it's intense. It's super intense. Have you felt, so I've become, I think because travel, as a skater, travel, especially international, I've been doing a lot of it the last 4 years. And I find that when I travel, I have a really hard time catching up with myself and being in tune to how I'm really feeling, because I'm an extremely anxious person. Like anxiety rules me in most ways. And I've learned that with this time being in one place for so long, I keep going through these little waves of kind of recognizing feelings, picking them apart. I feel like I'm catching up almost on years of suppressing things, if that makes sense.
Well,
and it's been very interesting.
I think when you say that, my gut instinct is what you said. I mean, basically, something is happening that is real. It's real. It's truthful. It's an actual fact. Now, how we want to comprehend it and change our behavior and whatever, that's a whole different thing, because we rule by habit and routine and these sort of things. But what's cool, what you're saying is, yes, you are going to get in touch with yourself more, because something real is happening to make you do that.
It's happening.
It's happening.
And it's happening to everybody.
Everybody. Even if Japan has very few, because they're a community that's gonna listen, they're gonna abide by what the rules are for a culture together. That society is wonderful. They'll be like, this is what we have to do as a people, and they will do it. But it is very real. It's happening everywhere. It's happening to everyone, and everyone is going to have to check in to real identities within oneself. One thing I find is the blatancy of everyone that is maybe self-centered and maybe has a problem branching out to some of the necessities that you'll see these people say, yeah, I'm with my kids a lot more and I'm doing this and this, but they're not happy about it yet. They're not actually with their kids yet. You know, it's just something they think they need to say. Well, I can't go to work, so I've been doing activities with the kid. But are you available when you're doing the activities? Yeah. I'm guilty of this. I still do this sometimes. I'm not free from that. You know, I'm not like the world's greatest father or anything. But, I mean, this is – so I agree with you. I think everyone in the world right now is going to have to is being asked to reach way deep in and remember where we came from. Remember what survival is. Remember what is truthful. But then it can get off in conspiracy. It can get off in, you can get off the negativity with it. And it's just, Albie and I started our conversation with that you guys were a group of friends, snorkeling or spearing fish. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, bro, you better get back here to Iowa and help me chuck some of these logs that I'm hauling around my yard because of carpenter ants, like spearfishing. And I was like, God, I want to be there so bad snorkeling. But it's like you said, I die for new experience. I die for like, hey, I have a new friend. He's like, hey, let's go get some fish and eat them ourselves. And I'd be like, wow, I know how to cook squash because I grow it. What? You grow squash? Yes, So I think you guys are in a great place, and it's great that you're conscious of just everybody else too. And I love what you said earlier. It's like, hey, the family. We got to be healthy. We got to get to healthy, and that's really tough to do in this world. All the marketing and the colors of. I walk into a convenience store and look at all the pop, and there's like 3 different colors of soda, but 700 hues of color and words to try and, convince me to buy this. And I'm like, it all sucks. It all is horrible. Look at it. Like, water doesn't come out of this. So.
No, exactly.
You guys are in a cool place. You're in a cool place.
And I'm definitely, my experience here is very different because, besides from this year, I have not spent any time in a place that's tropical or in a place that I can surf every day and be in warm water. And so I'm getting to experience it in this really, I guess it's like childlike. Like for Albie, it's fun because he's getting to show somebody things for the first time. So it's cool to watch him experience a place that he is so familiar with through kind of my eyes. It was like the first time he ever took me to Maui. We're still going on new adventures, and I'm learning how to dive. I'm learning how to use a snorkel and drive a jet ski. And, I'm a horrible cook. I unfortunately didn't get anything from my poor mother who can cook really well, but he's teaching me these really basic things like how to cook, how to make this dish, so it's really, really cool because it's the little kind of things that you forget about being like a skateboarder who just travels the world and typically has things easily, ready for them. So definitely learning what I need versus what I want.
this will be the best time of your life that you will remember if you guys continue, of course, and just move on through life together. These will be some of the best times to remember under some of the harshest conditions in reality. Record it, so kind of a good balance there, kind of acknowledge the volcano, but walk around the rim and enjoy the beauty. I mean, there's all kinds of benefits from the tragedy. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing acceptable about all the lives that are being lost right now. Especially you were bringing up South America. South America is one of my favorite places to play because of just the love they have, because of, we're giving them something that normally they wouldn't have or be able to attain, and they show you the appreciation so much, and I'm just heartbroken. We play Brazil quite a bit, and the death tolls, and I can't even hardly comprehend it. Yeah, I can't even comprehend it, and I can't wait to be able to get back down there and be able to do what I can to, I guess, fulfill spirits, to bring a smile, maybe, or to help bring out the anger. I don't know, in a healthy way. But, well, listen, a couple things. One, everybody I talk to, I'm going to talk to again, because that's what it's about, too, is having a conversation, understanding it's very easy to have that conversation, have a conversation where neither one of us feel like we really have to bring up why maybe all others think what we're going to talk about. Like, I'm strictly on you about your career, and you're strictly on my career. So I've really enjoyed this conversation, and we're going to do it again. I was thinking it'd be cool maybe next time, like the three of us, we try to, we could bounce, because you just sparked like this whole thing, like seeing Malibu through. You're seeing it for the first time, but he is like expressing all this excitement on things that he knows and can pass down. That's an interesting thing. So maybe next time we can all get on and we can talk about some of those things that you've explored and learned, and we can take on the getting healthy. But I want to ask you one more thing before we go. I want to thank you again for spending some of your time during the day.
I love this. So sick.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. I had a really good time, but I want to ask you one last thing, and it's only because we had a good chuckle about this concept of coming in too hot, and that's a Slipknot thing. That's a total. The reason why we got lost in it is because ever since Slipknot's been together, we have always said that about people that try to like perpetrate an attitude towards us, like. There's a lot of competition in my racket. There's a lot of competition. There just is, and we never really look at it that way. We're just like, we're going to destroy everything, including ourselves. So when other bands or other things are just too much, we're like, coming in hot. We're just like, you're going to lose, and this kind of stuff. Like everybody exactly. So, but anyway, he said you had a coming in hot moment. Either yesterday or the day before or last week or something, but you hurt your elbow. I was thinking about this last night, because he said first he said you broke it, and then he started dumbing it down a little bit later, but it's just a crack, and and I was like,
it's
bullshit.
Broken.
Yeah, I want to know, I was like, bullshit, is there a cast or not? Is there a cast?
So there isn't a cast yet. I'm currently ace bandaged in a sling. So, he probably gave you the breakdown. But basically what happened was we have friends who live out in the jungle on the other side of the island. And I cannot explain the beauty of where they live enough. It is absolutely, you look up from their cottage and you just see mountains, and you look down and you just see ocean. And it is one of the most magical places I've ever gotten to experience. And we were there Sunday because we have this close group of friends who we've been able to see kind of throughout the quarantine, because obviously we're shut down fully here on Maui. So I think we have 3 active cases. So it's been really good. But we were with them, and I mean, they have lilikoi and mangoes and all these fruits. And my friend was making these mixed drinks with like like a pound of this lilikoi nectar that they like harvested themselves. And so I've had at least 2 of these drinks. It is sunny. It is the afternoon. We are thriving in the backyard. And they have these things called one wheels, which are, people call them hoverboards, but they're more like a little Segway style thing. It's literally one wheel that you balance on, and it's electric, so you can go pretty fast on it. And because of how much I love skateboarding and being able to skateboard, I'm typically very cautious when doing things that I could potentially hurt myself doing. And this day, I think it was a mixture of the lilikoi and vodka and of the good spirits in the air, but I just got on that thing, and I see Albie on the other side of the field. And so you're on grass, too. We always, like, race around him on the grass, and it's just like being a kid again. But I just floored the thing towards Albie, and he's across the field. You're coming in too hot. And I'm just laughing. And then I'm like, I am coming in too hot. He jumps out of the way. I jump out of the way. And I just jump off weird because it's a goddamn machine. And I hyperextended my elbow. But what happened was, it's my first broken bone, but I hyperextended it so much that instead of the ligaments or muscle tearing, they pulled and broke this small bone called, it's like this little bone that holds your elbow in its little socket. So it's called revulsion fracture. But yeah, so I broke my elbow.
So you basically got the gold medal on the little teeny bone.
I got the gold. Yeah.
They're like,
and
breaking this little bone no one knows about. Well, I did it. Okay, gold medal. Here you go.
Yeah, well, I did it. And after 27 years of climbing trees and fighting with my brother and skateboarding and falling off mountain bikes, this was the thing that broke me. So I don't know. I think it's a great story, and if there's any time to be injured, it's now. And I just will never forget looking at Albie. He had like these reflective sunglasses on that he was wearing. He was like borrowing them from a friend. He never wears like reflective shades. So he looked like how do I explain this? He kind of looked like a frat boy mixed with like somebody who like is like hunting. He just had such a funny look, and I'm just like, it's just such a good moment. It was a great moment.
Well, you painted a beautiful picture. I mean, I saw the trees. I saw the grass surrounded by trees. I saw it. So I guess, if anything, what a great way to break your elbow, with good friends.
Yeah.
Good food, good cocktails, good love in the air, little too much fun, boom. But you're all right. You're laughing about it. It's good.
I'm laughing. I just slept on it that night. I knew it wasn't okay. And Albie's parents are a retired paramedic and a retired ER nurse. So his mom in the morning when we got home was like, you know what, just go get an x-ray for shits and gigs. Like mine as well. And I was like, for sure. Like, I have no problem doing that. And when the doctor came over and was like, I got bad news, I literally laughed in his face because I knew he was going to say it was broken. And I was just like, he's like, it was just great. It was just funny. And, I don't know. I think you got to appreciate when life puts you in your place. When you're coming in too hot. For sure.
I'll give you one. I'll give this to everyone through this. I got a really good one. Like, this is a good one. This happened like 3 days ago. So I got this big I got this big Norway spruce in my front yard, and I pruned it up nicely in the spring, but its bottom branches are still low enough that I can't quite get under it with the riding lawnmower. And this particular day, I just have attitude when I'm on a lawnmower. I don't have time for machinery to act to my brain. So I will break a lawnmower. I don't care. I'll do wheelies. I'll jump it. I'll break it, flat tires, I'll slam it into shit, and yell at it for not mowing the lawn. So anyway, I was like, I'm going to get under this tree. And I'm not lying.
Shoot.
I hit this tree so hard on a branch, anybody in the world would have been knocked right off. But I have so much pride and so much bullshit in me. I held on and just drug my face through this Norway spruce. And I scratched my entire face from ear to ear, and my nose
shit.
It was bloody and shit. And so for the next 3 days, everyone that saw me, I'd be like, hey, Paul. He'd be like, my buddy Paul. I'd be like, hey, Paul, what's that? What happened to your fucking face? You know, like, what's this? Everybody, I'm at the store.
You can't
what
hide
happened to you? It's just like, oh, God, I'm just such an idiot. So,
dude, that's the same deal that I've been. Just like, really? You're just wearing, like going to the grocery store and people being like, wow, now you were just wearing that thing for fun, kind of. Like, everybody's going to just fuck with you because they know you, and they're like, there's a good story behind it.
Always. I got right off, and I was just so mad. I was walking in the garage. I was like, oh, good one. The neighbors got that. I hope they got that on film, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm like, everyone got that one. Go ahead, take it. And I was just laughing. I was like, man, I just got fucking schooled, pardon my language, from a tree. A tree. Yeah. Just was like, you're not mowing here. Whap, I'm bloodied, you know. So it is a good story.
Dude, that's such a good one.
I love your energy. Your spirit's phenomenal. Go ahead. What were you going to say? You got a what?
Thank you. I have a recommendation for a YouTube video that if you like riding lawnmowers, you will love this video. It's called Ray's Last Jump, and it is this group of, maybe they're from Ontario. I don't know. They're just like these Canadian kind of redneck group of people, these guys who probably work in some like car garage. And it's basically this video of this older guy. I don't know if he is their boss or who he is, but he pulls up and they basically put him in hockey pads and all this shit, and they put him on these riding lawnmowers, and he jumps shit. And he's like 70 years old. And
what's it called?
It's called Ray's Last Jump. The guy's name is Ray.
I got it.
And you couldn't write this shit. It is the funniest video I've ever seen. My roommates, we quote this thing. We've watched this more than anything, but we quote this thing, and I, like, to this day will just throw crazy quotes out from it. But it will make your day.
I'll watch it tonight with my wife. We need our day made. It's raining here. Well, we will. We will. I'll watch that. Again, I really enjoyed my time with you, and your energy is awesome. So we're going to talk again. And again, I tell everybody, if you're around, if you hear I'm in town, I'm around, or vice versa, let's hook up sometime and take the communication and the conversation to another level of humanity. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So just keep it going. Just keep it going. So you guys have a great time. Keep the cause, and good luck with everything. And I'll check in again, and we'll do this very soon.
Yes, please. Thank you so much. It was so great to talk to you.